Today on What It's Like, a little bit of an apology. So it was supposed to be the 1968 Saab 96 Deluxe, but after doing that video and looking at the footage is absolute garbage. You can't see anything inside of that car. I am going back to Classic Auto Mall tomorrow, so I will reshoot the footage for that. I will take a light with me and I will make it right. I just didn't feel comfortable with the footage, so we're going to do this one instead. For those of you that are new to this channel, we generally cover the classics, vintage, some exotics, but this time we're going to do a follow-up episode on a 2009 Toyota Prius, which I've owned for about 6 months now. And since all of the butterflies and the honeymoon period is over, I want to talk about 5 things that I absolutely love about this car and 5 things that I absolutely hate about this car. And this list will keep evolving. The very last things are the 2 things that I love and hate the most. So starting with something really stupid, something really small, but I absolutely love it. This car has a phenomenal cup holder speaker. If you don't want to listen to the radio, no worries. This thing has an amazing cup holder speaker. And what does that mean? So you just put your device, I got an iPhone, so the speaker is down towards the bottom. You put it down inside the cup holder like this. So just so it didn't get copyright blocked, check this out.
Today on What It's Like, 1940 DeSoto S7C.
So you hear it from there.
With interesting butterfly hood. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like.
That's incredible. I don't use a microphone. That is exactly how it sounds. On to the first thing that I absolutely hate. Well, honestly, it's not something that I hate. It's just something that's annoying. You will get judged everywhere you go by this car. And honestly, I honestly don't care what you think about me and my little Prius. My daughter, this is my daughter's favorite car, and she calls it the Caprius. Anyway, on to something else that I like. It's fast and precise in the steering category. It has electric steering and it works great. The car handles well, it doesn't lean in the turns, and it just goes wherever you put it. It actually drives a whole lot better than you think it would. Moving on to the second thing that I don't really care for. If you live in a dusty climate, like I live in Western Pennsylvania in the Rust Belt, and the stuff that they put on the road here is why classic cars hibernate for the winter. The cars get covered in dust, and consequently, and I've never had this problem with any other vehicle that I've ever owned. I've owned 34 vehicles up until this point, and I've never had a problem with it. But this car, if it gets the lightest coating of dust on the lights, you can't see jack nothing with the low beams on. The high beams, it's not affected, but the low beams, you can't see 5 feet in front of you. The lights become as bright as candles in jam jars, and I kid you not, it is a bad problem. All you have to do is go out and wipe the lights off, but it's just, you shouldn't have to do that. I never had to do that in any other car that I've owned. All right, moving on to something that I like. This thing is speedy, so hear me out. It's not fast out of the hole because of the biggest thing that I hate, but we're going to get to that later. Interesting thing that I found out, if you drive this car like you're playing a piano, you know how a pianist pumps the foot pedal at the bottom? If you drive this car like that, it turns into a whole different driving experience. It becomes so much more fun. It zooms. It's very zippy, really. And it doesn't feel like you're driving a car at that point. It feels like you're driving a pod. It just kind of sort of encloses around you. It's a really different driving experience. If you don't believe me, check this out. So if I floor it, back off, floor it again, it takes off. There's 45, 50, 55, 60. I absolutely hate how cheap everything feels. It feels very appliance-like. If the doors freeze shut, I feel like the door handle will break off in my hand and the door will still be frozen shut. It gets better. Inside, the seats will show everything. And I was told that they make a special cleaner for the seats to clean up. But even watermarks make marks and leave the marks on the seats, or at least it did on mine. The steering wheel is by far the worst of all of it. It feels like it's made out of an eraser material, and it's falling apart in your hands every single time you turn the wheel. It's got cheaper than Fisher-Price plastics everywhere, and it's an appliance. I mean, when you think of it that way, it makes sense, but it's just like, why? They could have made it better. Onto a feature that I really love. So if you want to lock this car, you could either lock the car from the key fob, which looks like this, which is a brilliant key fob. You can either lock it from that, or you could just put the key fob in your pocket and lock it from this. If you hear that noise, that means the other key is in the car. So you just pick this up. It won't let you lock the keys in the car from the button. You have to lock it with the fob. But I got both sets of keys on me now. Lock the car, walk away. You're ready to leave. You just walk up to your Prius, reach out for the door handle, and it automatically unlocks. I absolutely love that feature. Moving on with the more convenience part of this car, other features that I absolutely love because it's convenience. When you look at the steering wheel, just about everything is controllable from the steering wheel. Volume control, mode. Let me start this. Another thing, you don't have to have the key in the ignition. The ignition is right here for the key, and the whole fob goes inside there, and it stays in there. You'll have to put the key in there every so often for it to recognize the key, but most times you only have to do that maybe once a week. It's a very important note. A lot of people don't realize that you have to put that in there. You'll see an icon come up on the dashboard, like a key with a slash through it. That just means put the key in the ignition. The computer needs to see what the key is. It's forgetting what the key looks like or feels like. You just put your foot on the brake, hit the start button, and the electric motor starts up first, and then it starts the actual motor. It's very weird. Anyway, the mode will switch between AM, FM1, FM2, and AM. This doesn't have satellite radio or anything like that. You could also change between your pre-selections with this. You could put AC auto on or temperature up and down, and then you could switch between defrost settings. You can choose your defrost settings and circulating AC. I think that's amazing. It's got a decent horn. Moving on to the fourth thing that I absolutely hate, and it might sound stupid to the people that don't own this car, but it's the hatch release for the rear hatch compartment. It's a button. Why, Toyota? Just why? Why couldn't you put an actual handle back there instead of a button? And a lot of times it's a two-handed procedure. It's possible to rip the assembly off very easily because, once again, this is an appliance, not a machine. And just like you have to push the button in the exact right spot or it won't open. And you try to force it open, and a lot of times you just rip off the place in which the button is connected to. And it's just super annoying, especially in the wintertime, because the thing, sometimes it's frozen and it just doesn't want to open. It's nice that the seats do go down, but there's a lot of times where I can't even get access to the trunk region because I can't get in it because the button situation, it's just super annoying. I am going to show you the thing that I hate the absolute most about this car. We are on a dirt road because it is very dry out. It will only do this whenever it's wet outside, but it does do it when it's dry out. Is the traction control system sucks in this car. If you're trying to take off, the traction control system is the whole reason why this car does not get out of the hole. It will not get out of its own way because it just needs to take off very slowly for some reason. I'm going to floor it. That's the traction control system. That I'm floored. Okay, now we're moving. Did you see that? That is why this car, that is the biggest thing I hate about this car. If you need to move out of the way, you can't because the traction control system won't let you, and there's no way to turn it off. I'm going to do it again. Do you see that light flashing on the dash? That is for the traction control light. Now, there is a way around it. If you let off the brake and get coasting just a little bit, and because I found this out, I also found out that it will go faster doing this too. So we're not going very fast, but if you push the pedal down about halfway, back off, bring it, let the pedal come back up and push it down again, it takes off like a rocket. I mean, just look, we're just moving pretty good now. Faster than we should be going on this back road that's made of dirt. By far, the biggest thing that I love about this car is the fuel economy. This thing can get up to 60 miles to the gallon. I've done it before. $15 for this car is still gas money. $30, if you drive it conservatively and don't drive it like a maniac, you can get 550 miles to a tank of gas. It's only got an 11.9 gallon tank. Does phenomenal on gas. I have driven it across the state 3 times. I'm going to make my 4th journey tomorrow. This is going to blow your mind, but if you're on the highway and you're going about 75 miles per hour, the computer is telling you that you're getting 39.6 miles to the gallon. If you look over and you're passing a Jeep Wrangler, they're getting in the single digits. Even at 75, 80 miles per hour, this thing gets phenomenal gas mileage. If you keep it around 50 to 55, you could get between 50 to 60 miles to the gallon. If you start hypermiling, that's when you start getting into the 60s. The highest I've ever gotten it, the computer to tell me the average was 57.8 miles to the gallon, which is absolutely incredible. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. I hope this video helps people see this car for what it is. It's one of my favorite appliances that I've ever owned. And realistically, the only things that I absolutely hate are the hatch situation with the button and the traction control / ABS. If it had better traction control or a way for you to turn it off, this car would be almost perfect. But we don't live in a perfect world. In the comment section, if you have one of these, what is your experience? Please post that in the comment section below. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. Nobody got the Name That Tune from the other day, so we're going to use that Name That Tune again. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you don't have Facebook, no problem. If you want to shoot me an email one-on-one, that will be, all of that information will be linked in the description. So if I catch you on either outlet, just know I appreciate all of the support. And until next time, well, wait a second. Here are some scenes for our next episode. Now, I'm going to do the Saab episode on Tuesday, but the footage is going to be different than this, but this is what is going to be our featured car. So tune in on Tuesday to see the 1968 Saab 96 Deluxe. And until then, toodaloo!